Welcome, everybody. I'm Joan Lok, and today we are going to talk about sketching tours specifically for Sumi-e artists. If you have been following my YouTube channel, I actually have conducted a similar event on Zoom, and I share what I bring to my sketching trips. And in that particular one, that's probably around 3 years ago, I share, all the things that I bring to a sketching trip. I show you exactly what they look like. And at the end of it, I actually share what I did when I sketched during my lunchtime when I was working in Washington, D.C. So today is a little bit different because the Sumi Society of America just have a workshop for the members, and then the instructor strongly encourage artists to do sketching. And so, among the board, we talk about, how we're going to promote the love of sketching by Sumi artists. So three artists, including myself, get together and we are going to jointly write an article about that and talking about the advantages, purpose of sketching, what are some of the tips and things like that. And of course, we will include what we usually bring to a sketching trip. So I think, a picture is worth 1,000 words and a video is priceless. So I think, it's a good idea to actually share it not only on photo, but then on a video. And the recording will be posted on YouTube so other Sumi artists can also look at it as well. So first of all, without diving too deep into it, I think everyone know that or has been told that if you are a serious artist, you should really engage in sketching, and I completely benefit from it because when you sketch, you are learning from nature, you are learning from life, not a photo, not a reference, not an artwork people already created. If you believe in divines and it's God's creation, even if you don't, nature do have a lot to teach us, especially if you are a landscape artist or a floral painter. However, even if you are not a floral painter, not a bird and animal painter, or not a landscape artist, sketchings do help you polish your skill to bring things from what you see into a two-dimensional surface. And before we dive into what a Sumi artist would bring, I strongly encourage everyone, including those who have never done sketching before and only did Sumi, you don't have to bring Sumi material to your first sketch. As a matter of fact, the easiest way, and most artists, including Sumi artists, when they sketch, the only thing that they have is either a pencil or a marker and a regular, could be pricey, could be, acid-free and, all this, like name brand, or just could be a sketchbook or a paper that is a blank paper book from, like may not be a dollar store, but in a bargain department store or a bargain, drugstore that you can buy a book. So what I'm trying to say is when you go sketching, the purpose is not to create a masterpiece. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of artists would tell you when they go sketching, a lot of times what they collected in their sketchbook is not the final work. Occasionally, they might have something really cool that they can exhibit. But most of the time, it's actually the sketch that they collected, the ideas and the resources that they collected during the sketching trip that came back to the studio and became a masterpiece that they would refine what they have in the sketch, make it bigger, make it more grand. And with the addition of reference photo, it's kind of like a man-made reference photo that you can bring back to your studio. So let me just show you what I bring to my sketching trip, and let's go to the camera. All right. So let's talk about the very basic first, the very basic of the surface and also the writing utensils, okay? So as I mentioned earlier, if you are a beginner, don't feel intimidated that you must bring Sumi-e supplies. I would strongly encourage on your first trip, instead of bringing Sumi-e supply, just bring a regular sketchbook. Anyone would do. It can be the one that opens sideways or something that can open like, because depends on how you like it. Most of the time you would like it to be white paper instead of lined, and then hopefully slightly thicker, but then depends on what you are painting on. If you only want to do pen and ink or pencil and ink, the thickness of the paper does not really matter that much. But if you plan to have a color wash or a watercolor ink wash on it, then you may want slightly thicker paper. So let's get to what we are bringing on the writing utensils. As I mentioned earlier, you can just bring a pencil, and then it can be any pencil. And of course, like if you are really into, pencil drawing, then of course there's like 2B, 3B, 4B, 6B, and so on. And if you, don't have it, an HB is fine. But then my favorite one is actually a 3B. 6B is a little bit too soft, but then, like depends on what people like, but I usually like 3B. But then another thing is, if you bring a pencil like this, you would have to bring a razor to sharpen it, or you have to bring a pencil sharpener. And I have to say that nowadays it's kind of, like not that easy. So what I recently have been doing the last few years actually mechanical pencil. Mechanical pencil, this is actually, it's not even 3B, 6B, 4B, it's actually just HB, right? And I buy it in bulk. I just go to the discount store like Walmart or Target, and then you just buy, like regular brand, it doesn't have to be any particular brand, but basically a HB pencil. And it comes with a small eraser. I usually don't use this eraser. I have my own eraser. But then basically, you don't have to sharpen. You just do this, and then the pencil is always sharp, right? So just a pencil would do it. And I have to say that my personal preference is not even pencil, right? I use the pencil only when I'm doing watercolor because I don't want my ink mark on it. So if you are gutsy enough, which I think that, Sumi-e artists should be, because we usually create artwork with our sketch, with the exception of, for example, gombi painting, that you may have a sketch. But then in freehand painting, in expressive brushwork, we directly paint on the paper. And because of that, instead of pencil, my recommendation is to train the eye to be precise. And I'm going to use extra fine markers. Let me show you the brand I use. All right. These is just, I have to say that, this is permanent marker, is a regular Sharpie, and this one is the ultra fine, because did I bring it? Okay. Because the fine is still a little bit thick for me. The ultra fine, let's see. Is this line, which I think is a good thickness. And if you don't like black, you can find a brown one. Okay, there are different colors one, right? But then this is ultra fine. So you can see it clearly. Yeah. This is actually a good thickness, right? So my recommendation when you go outdoor sketching, don't bring one, bring two, because these do dry it out if you don't close it tightly, or, like when you have been using it for a while, you don't know how much more ink does it have. So when I go outdoor sketching, I always bring two, right? So exactly the same thing, ultra fine, fine point, okay, two. All right, so now we get to, like what if I'm not really into lines. I like Sumi-e, but then I may be a little bit intimidated by bringing all this, like brushes and things onto the field. So what I have been doing is this. These, I mean, like the brand doesn't matter, but then, this is, a particular, actually I have two different, it's the same brand, yeah. So these are markers. They are color markers, and I have to say that if you go to the store, this is usually how they mark the color, and then you will know that there are probably, like a few hundreds of different colors. And what I did is I actually bought the gray. Of course, if you are really into watercolor or into, like just color, they are warm gray and cool gray, and then they are gray towards the kind of bluish tone, greenish tone, brownish tone, and or just gradation of black. And this one, these kind of markers usually have two tips. Okay, the two tips. One tip is, see, this is what they usually call fine, and that's why I say when I sketch, I use the ultra fine. This is the fine tip, and this one is the chisel one that you can do it big or you can do it thin, right? So you can have multiple thickness with this tip, right? So why do I introduce you to this? This one is, by the way, this one is true black, right? Because I have multiple gray one. This is a gray. This is the light gray. So if you are a Sumi-e artist and you think this is a little bit too fine, you can use, of course, this end. For example, if you are in a particular landscape, you want to do, like this is the mountain, and you have like a little hut here, and maybe this, like whatever, there's some trees and things like that, right? But then you also want to do and you can even use gray. So I actually have three different color. I only found two because both of these are black. I have, this is the light gray, I have a mid gray, and I have a dark gray. So you can have that, and then you can create very quick impression of what is in front of you with the value study, because this is actually good for value study as well. So you can have three different colors, light, medium, dark, black in different thickness, because they actually come in two different ones. Or if you are like me that like to do, like just a lot of nice contour, then you can use the ultra fine. So, or then of course, you can have pencil, and the easiest way is actually the mechanical pencil. And usually what I do is I will, I usually don't break that much, but maybe two of my brushes and one pencil, that's the mechanical one. And this probably will be what I bring. And if I like to have a shading one, maybe this. And then I will find a small pencil case, and I usually just put them all into it, right? And of course, like you don't have to buy a pencil case. You can use a rubber band, and you can use a Ziploc bag, but that is your writing utensils, and that is your paper, which is a regular sketchbook, regular paper. All right. So that is kind of the simplest way of starting sketching. All right. But then of course, then you'll say, no, I want to do a little bit more advanced on that. Then let's get to the material for the brushes first before we get into the material. Brushes. If you want to bring Sumi-e, I would say that depends on what you are painting. If you are painting landscape, usually because I use worn out brushes for landscape, so I would just bring a medium worn out brush, and that would be what I'll bring. This, just a worn out brush for landscape, and this is all I bring for my landscape. All right. But then if you are doing flower, I recommend bringing a medium. I will probably bring a combination medium because I like to use combinations to do flowers. And then I will also bring a fine brush, right? And depending on whether you want to paint more flowers or you want to paint more branches or trees and things like that, then it will, it can be a fine brush for all the details, but it also could be a mountain horse brush, a fine mountain horse brush that can do a lot of nice branches, all right? So two brushes for flowers, one brush for landscape, and that probably will be sufficient. Of course, in your studio, you probably have a lot of brushes, but you really don't need to bring a lot of things because you are not bringing your studio outside and paint. You are sketching. So be mindful of that because you don't really want to be, carrying too much stuff. So the brushes is there. All right. Now, let's get to the ink. All right. So everybody know that, we have bottle ink and also blind ink. When you are going outside, I would probably do the bottle ink. Okay. Oops, let me see. Come on. I'm able to change that. Let's see. Okay, got it. All right. Yeah. All right. So, mm, all right. um, yeah. Whatever bottle wing you have, um, is too much to bring, especially if you are, for example, flying to the destination. You really don't want that much liquid in your luggage or in your carry-on. It's not allowed. It's just too much liquid, right? So what I usually do is I actually either buy a really small bottle ink, sometimes they do come in smaller bottle, or I would actually put it into a small jar, right? And then the small jar, you can go to Michael or Joanne and get those really small plastic bottles. And in the olden times, it's negatives of film bottles that are really tight as well. It's kind of small, but we don't have negative anymore. But then another good jar for ink is actually your jar for your masking fluid. If you do watercolor and you have masking fluid, this is a pretty tight jar. Okay, I mean, I still have masking fluid in this one, but then this is really tight. So the danger of the ink leaking is less. And you don't have to fill a full bottle. Fill this much, that is sufficient for your entire trip. But then lately, what I have discovered is this. Let me show you what this is. Okay. This is actually small plastic container. It's just like those Tupperware container that you put in the freezer and the refrigerator. And this is airtight because of this rubber. And this one are usually for small salad dressing. Right? When you bring salad to your office and you want to bring a little bit of salad dressing, this is like salad dressing top. And I discovered them and I found them really good. So you just have to pour a little bit of ink onto it and they are pretty tight. But of course, as a precaution, Ziploc bags is your friend. So even you have this in a tight container, always put it within a Ziploc bag as well. So that's your ink, all right? So we take care of the ink, we have the brushes. So water, all right? Don't presume your site has water because even is a garden after the pandemic, a lot of water fountain may not even be functional anymore because of health concern or whatever. They are no longer functioning. In a public park, they may have a restroom and then you can get your water, but then you may not find it, especially if you are going into a larger national park. You may have to drive in and then the bathroom may be at the entrance, but then when you go further in, you probably have to drive a longer distance to find a bathroom to your water. So besides drinking water, I would probably bring a small bottle of water. And this is a, kind of like a half bottle that I have drank. And after that, instead of recycling the bottle, I actually kept it. And this is really enough for, like entire trip. And sometimes I don't even have to fill it up because I use, only a little bit all the time. Uh, but then another thing is by having the half bottle, I would not mix it up with the full bottle because the full bottle is for drinking. So this one, don't drink it. And this one is a clean one, but occasionally I would even put a marker or a sticker and actually say do not drink because sometimes when you're busy, when you're thirsty, you really don't want to mistakenly drink your like a painting water. All right. So that's the water. And when you have water, you need a kind of like a container for the to hold the water. And I'll show you what I usually use. Um, if I'm flying, if I'm going to a location, I actually just bring two little plastic dish. This one is for clean water. This one actually is for ink, but if I'm bringing this, then this will be the source of ink and this will be the second source of dirty water. But you only need to put a little bit of water and then you can work on it on the entire painting, So two little plastic cup with If I am local, if I am driving or just not flying, I usually bring this. This is something that I buy in an art store. I think you can still find them. May not look exactly the same, but they can cut one into another, and it's pretty good for water. I mean, you always want to, because one for clean water, one for washing the brush. So when you wash the brush, you do not contaminate the water source. You always have clean water. So I usually have two. Okay, two here, two here. All right. But I'm sure that some of you would have collapsible bucket, collapsible jug. So this is one of those that is collapsible, and you can open it. It can be, like a whole jug of water. But then when you finish, when you are, traveling, you can close it, put it in your luggage or your backpack. Okay, so I think it's a little bit too much water. I still prefer this because I want two compartments instead of one. So I usually bring this inside of this, but it's completely up to you. And I usually bring mist bottle, and depends on what you have. You can buy a small one. If you can't find a small one, actually, ladies have, like lotions or what have you. With you have spray bottle of, some of the things that you use, you can always save it. This is a bigger one. This is an even smaller one. And then last but not least, this is for hand sanitizer. I finish using the hand sanitizer. I fill it with water. It's actually a good misting equipment that I can use. So that's for misting. And before I change subject, as I say, you can have a little bottle on this one. Actually came in a little outdoor package that I have. So you can have little bottles like this. And then since we are talking about this, let me introduce you to this. These are brushes that came with water because it's kind of like the fountain pen function. This one, when you open it, you can actually put it into a basin, like your wash hand basin, and you can fill it with water. I'm not sure we can see it. The water is here, and then you put it back. And then when you just grease slightly, the water will come down here. And then when you touch color, then this will paint. And I have 4 of them, but then my favorite one is actually these 2. They have different sizes. I think these 2 are the same. Yeah. So I have a flat brush, a big and a small one, and that is probably cover everything, right? And of course, with your watercolors, you can bring other watercolor brushes, but then this is probably sufficient for my purpose, right? Right. So, seeing we have brushes, what I also like to do is also bring a brush stand, because when you are painting outdoor, the brushes can fall through the cracks, like roll on the grass and things like that. So I like to bring my stand. So now, I have talked all about this brushes and things. So, and also the ink colors, right? Just in case, if you are into ink only, you are done. You don't need to bring colors. But then if you really want to bring colors, the easiest way is actually get a Western palette that is airtight. And the one I have is this one with, various compartment, and you see that the rubber here. So this is also airtight. And once I finish painting and I close it tight, supposedly it would not leak. However, like this is watercolor, and with it leak, it can be really messy. So always have Ziploc bag as your friend. Anything that is liquid, I will put them into a Ziploc bag before I put it into the backpack, all right? And if you don't want to bring this An other option is actually this. This one is from Winsor Newton, but I think if you go to the art store, you can find various one. They are basically pen watercolor, and they come with this brush, but of course I'm not using this. But basically, this particular set, I have bought it to various trips. So let me just show you. Okay, so here, this is, you can expand it. Oh, okay, right. You can expand this here, right? You can put your thumb here, and you can even put your water as a water well here. Just pour a little bit of water here. Then with this kind of brushes, once you pump a little bit and touch the color, then then you can paint. And when you want to wash, just pump a little bit more with a paper towel. With a paper towel, you just pump, 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 and then you can wash the color away. And now you can pick up another color, right? So that is pretty easy. And that is also for, outdoor sketching, but it's completely up to you, your color source. So now, this is kind of universal to the watercolor and also Sumi-e and regular sketching. But how about the most important thing about Sumi-e sketching, the paper, right? So I'm going to show you what I usually bring from Sumi-e sketches. For the paper, right? If you are outdoor and you are just practicing, as I say, you are not making a masterpiece. If you don't mind, I would probably say the easiest way is to either use your sketchbook with slightly thicker paper or just do a watercolor sketchbook. A watercolor sketchbook, you can do Sumi-e painting on it. It's not as efficient. The absorbency may not be as good, but then, as I say, you are not creating your masterpiece. You are basically capturing your emotion on site when you are in front of the subject and trying to train the eye to know how to put it on paper. So watercolor paper sketchbook, simple and easy. That is one way to do it. And of course, there are multiple kinds. You can have, like a Winsor Newton, Coleman, more a student gray, or you can have, Archers, like more a professional gray, and do that. But say I'm a really diehard Sumi artist. I really only want Sumi stuff. So I'm sure that you have been introduced to something that is called the accordion book. And accordion book come in a variety of sizes. So let me just show you what I have. This is one that is kind of 8.5 by 11.5 or something like that. All right. But okay, 7.5 by 11.5. I think now it's 15. So basically when you open it, is usually people do left and right instead of just half. Usually people do left and right, this as a whole piece. But I have to say that if you are new to outdoor sketching, even this size could be intimidating. My recommended size is actually this smaller one, right? This smaller one, when you open, then this is maybe around 6 inches, and this is around 11 inches, which is, I think it's a good size for anyone. And besides, a lot of times when we are outdoor sketching, we may not have a place to sit down, and we may be standing, and there's no support for the book. So you will be doing this. So let me just show you here. So you may be doing this. You are doing this. So you want something that one hand can hold when the other hand is painting, right? So if you use a big one like this, as I say, unless you are doing the half page, if you are doing the full page, it's very tiring on the hand. It's a little bit heavy, right? So unless you have a support, you have a desk, you have a stand, but then I'm talking about something easier, right? If you have an easel and and you have something to rest the things on, great. But if you don't and you are just sitting and you are doing this is a good size because you can just hold it like this, right? And you can do the painting. And let's see what's the book. The book is basically rice paper mounted on a supporting bag. And this kind of book have both sizes, and they are called accordion book because they do open like an accordion. So you can have it really long and open, and then you have both sides, and you can do it like one painting, one painting, one painting, and things like that. So that's the accordion book, right? And I'll show you this one because this one is a completed one. And I'll show you. And this one, I did it on a trip to Red Rock Canyon. But before I end, I want to show you alternatives. Well, nowadays you can buy this online in various Sumi-e supply store. They would sell accordion book, rice paper accordion book. You can buy it from them. But if you want to use alternatives, these are gifts from my friend, and this is basically handmade paper book. And these both of them are from Nepal. But then what they are is they are handmade paper, so you can use that for your Sumi sketching as well, right? So you can use alternative books. But what I want to show you is a trick that I do on all my sketching, right? For example, this is a book that I bring on to my cruises in the Caribbean. And one trick thing is before I start using this book, I will go to my pack of cardboard, all right? And this actually is not, you don't even have to buy it. This is basically the back of a notepad, right? When you finish using a notepad, this is the back of a notepad. So this is a pretty sturdy board. So what I do is I cut out a size that is the size of my book. So when I'm drawing a new page, I always put this in between the new page and the following new page. You will thank yourself for it because sometimes these papers can be very thin. And then especially since I use markers, not pencil, it may pass through and you do not want little black dots on your next page. So this is a good trick, okay, for markers, but even for this paper book, right? Because as I say, these are rice paper, handmade paper, but then they may pass through. So what I do is instead of a cardboard, I will have a paper towel. This is the kind of paper towel that doesn't have rubble, the pattern, because the paper towel that we got usually have, like flower or lines and different patterns, depends on what brand you have. But then there's a kind of paper towel that's called the industrial paper towel. They are for marking up oil spill or heavy liquid, industrial liquid. They are slightly more expensive, but then have you noticed that there's no pattern? So I use it for it's almost like a piece of felt because I don't want to waste my piece of felt on this, but I fold it in half. So this will be my dividing for this book. And when I'm ready to use this book, I'll probably cut this into this size for it. So that would be a good trick. All right. Now, last but not least, if I want to use real rice paper, what do I do? Okay. When you want to bring real rice paper and sketch, but you don't want to do accordion book, what you would do is determine the size of the rice paper that you want to paint on, cut a cardboard the same size and cut a piece of felt the same size and make a board like this. All right. So this is the rice paper I'm going to use on my trip, which I think outdoor sketching, this is actually pretty big already. All right. So I find a board. It could be a cardboard. It could be a, bag, as I say, like when you buy something online, the cardboard box, whatever things that you find, right? And then get a piece of paper, cut into the size of the rice paper that you want to work on, and then cut a piece of felt the same size. And then I have a fellow artist that spray glue on it. Just use Emmons glue or spray glue and then glue it on. For me, I'm lazy. I basically just use masking tape. I use masking tape and just tape the felt onto my board. Then I have a surface that has the felt cover, right? And then I'll bring my rice paper. And then what you also need is you have to buy clips that look like this. Not the regular paper clip. Paper clip is not thick enough. The black paper clip is a little bit too strong. What you need is these edges. These edges. You want it to not damage your paper, but yet can hold it in place, right? So how many, depends on how windy the location is, but I think 4 would be more than sufficient, right? So buy these kind of clips, paper, and then prepare a special board. And of course, like I have, another one, which is magnet and then a piece of silk, metal, aluminum. I got it from Home Depot and then I just cut it into the size and I use magnet. Magnet also would not, then you don't have to use the clip. And this magnet is so strong that I can put a piece of felt and then a clip and it will be fine, all right? So that's that. And as I say, Ziploc bag is your friend. So if you buy something, for example, some clothing or things like that you have a big Ziploc bag, that would be good for putting my paper onto the Ziploc bag, right? And other things, let me see what I missed. Okay. Even like watercolors will probably use masking tape. Even you probably, if you're using rice paper, you may not. I will always have masking tape in my outdoor sketching because they are handy as, like Band-Aid, right? So I have that. And then I will have a roll of paper towel. It's always handy for cleanup and also for a lot of other stuff. And just one more before I leave. These are some of the kind of like the essentials to bring to your trip. Always bring a hat. And if you like caps, or bring with a wider trim. My preference is this because when you bring a little cap, although, it's okay, but then what I find out is that your ear still get really hot. So this would be, like better because of the wider rim, all right? So, and, I'll bring a collapsible one so I can always, mash it up and put it in my backpack. So bring a hat, right? And this also, like a little bit of water repellent as well. So that's good. With the location have bugs, bring bug spray with you. Actually, even if it's a overcast day, bring sunscreen, all right, to protect the skin. And talking about sunscreen, actually, the best sunscreen is actually a long sleeve shirt. So if you plan to be sketching outdoor for more than a few hours, really, like you should not be wearing short sleeve because you can put as much sunscreen here. It's not as protective as wearing a long sleeve shirt. So I actually have this shirt designated for my trip because this is also a little bit thicker. So it can also be for the wind as well. So long sleeve shirt with a collar that can protect the sun, I mean the neck from the sun, and also long sleeve, and so a long sleeve shirt. And winter is coming. Although, we think of sketching as outdoor, but then a lot of times, we'll find the weather a little bit cold, but you still want to do sketching. So I have to say that gloves with, like finger opening is my friend. I I have, various gloves that look like this that really helpful when you're doing outdoor sketching. The hand may be cold, but then the fingertips is available. And then like I just got this, which is kind of like a sleeve for the hand. This similar to like a long gloves, right? With the finger showing. These actually you'll find it really helpful, especially when you want to do outdoor sketching in winter. And of course, if you are doing anything with the water and ink and color, besides paper towel, because you can use a lot of paper towel for cleanup, so I will use it for things that kind of like if I have a big spill or if I have things that I will clean up repeatedly, actually bring an old wash towel, like wash towel that is, kind of like you have used it for many times, it's really old. Then what you will do is you just use it for your watercolor cleanup, and it would be better for the environment as well. And since I wear glasses, besides, paper towel, always bring one of those, like um things to clean the glasses, because, it's just very helpful, right? And last but not least, I always remind my student to bring snacks. So if you are going to do outdoor sketching for a whole day, besides water, bring a Ziploc bag of snack. Um, depends on what you want, but then maybe an energy bar or kind of like a just a simple supply of snack, because you will be surprised that when we are painting we may forget that we are hungry, so have a little bit of snack or cough drop or things like that, and a little bit of first aid kit like the band-aid would be helpful. A little bit of tissue paper would be helpful. But then that's what I will bring to a Sumi-e sketching. But the bottom line is it doesn't have to be really Sumi-e. You just want to kind of get into the habit of painting and drawing and being able to capture what is in front of you and capture not just the subject, but the emotion. And in the olden times, I would also recommend bringing a small camera. But nowadays, we all bring our phone, and our phone do have camera in it. So whatever you sketch is a nice idea to also either before or after you sketch or both, take a picture of what you are going to sketch. You will be pleased to kind of like after you've done it and do the comparison. And of course, if you want to bring it home to your studio and make it into a bigger painting, then the reference photo will always helpful on maybe some of the detail that you missed or some of the things that give you additional idea of what to do and things like that. So that this conclude, what I'm going to tell you on what I bring to my sketching tour. So any questions, any comments, or anyone want to share what they would do or bring in their sketching trip? Okay, don't just all raise your hand all at once. Okay, I know everybody's shy. So what I'm going to do is I will be summarizing what I talk about in the article in the Sumi Society upcoming quarterly with two other authors that we will talk about the advantages and the purpose of sketching, tips of organizing a sketching trip, and also, surprise to bring to your sketch. So I hope this will be helpful. So thank you for everybody for coming. Any last comments before we end? Okay. So thank you everybody for coming, and I'll see you again at 1 when we have our Gombi Roses workshop. Thank you. Bye-bye.